Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. Today I'm going over with you guys 5 of my most wanted fragrances for 2020. So these are fragrances that I do not own, that I hope to own when this year comes to an end. Got kind of a mixture of fragrances, some of these newer releases, some of them actually ones that aren't really even available right now, and then some little older releases. So let's go ahead and jump into this and I'll let you guys know some of the fragrances that I want to own the baddest. First up, a fragrance from Amouage. This one came out in 2019. Amouage Overture Man. Really want to get my hands on this one. Right now it's going for about 300 bucks. And I have been patiently waiting for this fragrance to hit at discounters, but so far, no dice. And actually, very recently, Amouage just announced a new Interlude fragrance. Interlude Black Iris, I believe, is the name of the fragrance, so a flanker. Yeah, Amouage coming out with the new flanker. Bottle looks great though, and I've got to say, that one's probably gonna go on my list as well as something that I really want. But right now, from the entire Amouage line, if I could get just one, it would be Overture. Now the note breakdown on this one is pretty simple. It's 3 notes: cognac, myrrh, sandalwood. That's it. Obviously there's gonna be a lot more going on in the actual fragrance than just those 3 notes, but those are the main ideas that they're trying to get across with that fragrance. I also think it's nice that they're using cognac as a note instead of just saying something like bourbon. No, they're keeping it classy, keeping it French with that cognac as the top note. Amouage has one of those really nice presentations where it's not too ostentatious, not too out there, not too showy, but at the same time, very classy, very high-end looking. And then the fragrance itself, just with those 3 notes, appeals to me just right away. So with that fragrance, I'm expecting resinous sweetness. I'm expecting booziness, some creaminess, a little bit of woodiness in there, and it just sounds like something that would be right up my alley. So that's the first one that I really want, Amouage Overture Man. I'm just hoping that I can get it for a lower price than basically $300. And the next fragrance is one that I'm definitely not going to be able to get for a cheap price at discounters. So this one I'm just gonna have to suck it up and pay the price for it when it comes time to order it, and that fragrance is Bortnikov Triad. Yes, Bortnikov. I really haven't talked about Bortnikov fragrances on this channel. I have sampled them and I want to own them. So Triad is the first one that I imagine I'm gonna pull the trigger on this year. That's the one that I really have my sights set on right now. And Triad has a lot of different oud notes in there, and really Bortnikov, Riche Lador, fragrance houses like that really do appeal to people that love their oud. So this one has Sri Lankan oud, it has Thai oud, it has Indonesian oud, it has Chinese oud. Like I said, a lot of oud. There's also rose in the fragrance, and from what I've read, it's an extremely high quality rose and oud fragrance, and I don't doubt that for 1 second. So this is one that I really want to get my hands on, and before too long, hopefully, I'll be able to pony up the cash, buy that Bortnikov, and have it on its way here. And then when I do get that one in, probably go ahead and do a first impression for you guys here and let you know what I think about it. I don't know when that's gonna be. I don't know if that's gonna be a month from now or 4 months from now or whatever, but I've got my eyes set on it. And the next fragrance that I really want is older than the last 2 that I talked about. It's not really too old. It's not like we're going back into the 90s or 80s or anything, but older than the last 2. And it's sort of a modern classic fragrance. It's Invasion Barbare. Now, I could have hit that with a French accent, but you don't want to hear that. And this one's from MDCI Parfums. This fragrance has gotten a lot of hype since it came out for being one of the best barbershop fragrances on the market that you can buy. I have sampled this one. I've actually run through a complete decant of this fragrance. So this one I'm more familiar with. I've actually given it a bunch of wear and decided after going through the decant that I do want to own a full bottle of it. And I would probably want to get it with the little resin bust that goes on top just because it looks awesome. I mean, there's really no other reason other than that. Obviously, the fragrance is just as good if you get it with just the little cap, the normal cap, but you gotta get that resinous bust. It's not really a resinous bust, is it? It's just a resin bust. Still though, looks cool. This one's got lavender, cardamom, vanilla, thyme, musk as some of the notes in the fragrance, and it is just a fantastic, classy, sophisticated barbershop scent. It's top of the line. And this one's another fragrance that I probably like to feature on the channel as well, especially if I get that full presentation with the bust and everything, just to show you guys how that looks. It's the type of fragrance that kind of appeals to that part of me that really loves classic, old school style fragrances, your classic masculine scent. This one really appeals to me in that way, but as I said, it's top tier in that family of fragrance. It's one of those kind of fragrances that has extreme versatility. You can use it in so many different situations, but I would probably keep it just for specific, special situations. And that one I really want to own, so hopefully I can pick up a bottle this year. The next one in this list is from Louis Vuitton, which is a house that only recently started making fragrances. And the fragrance that I want most from that house is called Ombre Nomade. And I think the bottle looks awesome on that one. That's not the reason I want the fragrance, or not the only reason, but it doesn't hurt. This one has oud, incense, and raspberry as some of the notes, along with rose. So it's another oud and rose fragrance. There's also birch in here, so I imagine you're gonna get some smokiness from that, and then there's benzoin as well. So you've got birch and incense both. I imagine that with the birch and the incense in here, along with the oud, there's a good amount of smokiness, but then some sweetness that's going to contrast with that smokiness coming from the raspberry and the benzoin. Of course, like I said, there's rose in here, and oud and rose is one of those classic combos in perfumery. I mean, for your blue fragrances, your fresh fragrances, you see all the time ginger plus apple or citrus, any citrus. And then when you look at those oud fragrances, it seems like 75-80% of the time oud is paired up with rose, and very often you'll find saffron in there as well. From what I've read though, this one with the oud and the rose, it's done very well. It doesn't come across cheap, doesn't come across played out, doesn't come across generic, which sometimes does happen with oud rose fragrances. And of all the Vuitton fragrances, this is the one that interests me the most. And I really do want to start digging into that house to see kind of what they've got to offer. Where I live, I'm never gonna find those in any of my local stores to where I can go and smell them myself. So I figure might as well start, chipping off the fragrances one at a time based off of which ones interest me the most. Next one is from Guerlain, and it is Guerlain L'Homme Ideal Extreme. And that is the newest in the L'Homme Ideal line. It's a line that I love, and it makes sense that the new fragrance in this line is gonna be a cool weather fragrance because they alternate year after year. So they'll go cool weather fragrance, warm weather fragrance, cool weather fragrance, warm weather fragrance, year after year with each flanker. So if you go back and look at this line from the launch, which was Guerlain L'Homme Eau de Toilette, that one is better for cool weather situations. And then each year after, they've released a flanker in the L'Homme Ideal line, and it always alternates. Last year was L'Homme Ideal Cool, which is going to be a warm weather fragrance. And now we've gone into a new year, a new flanker, and since last year was a warm weather fragrance, this one is a cool weather fragrance, which means next year, assuming that L'Homme Ideal gets another flanker, it's gonna be a warm weather flanker. So a spring or summer fragrance next year, since this year is fall and winter. This one has the almond note, which is in every L'Homme Ideal fragrance, which I really like. The way it's pulled off in this line is very good, very appealing, easy to wear, and it just seems to work across each one of these different takes on the DNA in the line. All the other notes in L'Homme Ideal Extreme that work with that almond are right up my alley. So this could very well be my favorite from the entire line. That's why I want it so badly. It's got tobacco in here. It has plum, it has cinnamon, it has leather, it has pink pepper. I mean, it just sounds awesome. This is a fragrance line that's very versatile, easy to wear, but at the same time doesn't fall into a lot of the pitfalls that other houses do. You know, this isn't a fragrance line that's basically churning out Invictus style fragrances is what I mean. And also when these hit discounters, a lot of times you can pick them up for a pretty good price. You know, sometimes 30 bucks, 40 bucks, 50 bucks, depending on which fragrance in the line we're talking about, but even at $50 or $60, it's still a great buy. So that one will wrap up the 5 that I want the most. And I'm just gonna talk about 2 bonus ones really quickly. The reason I didn't include these in the 5 that I officially talked about is because these 2 are discontinued fragrances, and they're just kind of part of my overarching obsession with picking up discontinued scents when I can. First one is Gucci Nobile, and this one came out in 1988. It's quite expensive now, unfortunately. Oak moss, bergamot, lavender, rosemary, some of the notes in the fragrance. This one's going to be your old school classic masculine fresh, green, classy, aromatic kind of scent. Really, really want that one. So hopefully I can find a bottle for a decent price, but probably going to have to pay upwards of $200 for that. And then Jazz Prestige by Yves Saint Laurent, which came out in 1993. I do have the original Jazz. I have Live Jazz, but I don't have Jazz Prestige. Sandalwood, lavender, geranium, oak moss, and bergamot, some of the notes in that fragrance. And this one actually shares a lot of notes with the Gucci that I just mentioned. And again, going back to what I said earlier in the video, it kind of, you know, ties in with my love for those old school masculine fragrances, or at least through the 80s into the early 90s with your masculine, fresh green fragrances that weren't, you know, overly sweet or aquatic or anything like that, and before aroma chemicals like ambroxan or amberwood got really big. So those 2 are ones that I really, really, really want to pick up, but they're more in line with me just collecting the discontinued fragrances that I like. And with that, I'm gonna wrap this video up. So hopefully I can get at least some of these this year, and if I do pick these up, I'll make sure to show you guys here. And maybe I'll have some more fragrances that I want to pick up later on in the year, and we'll do another one of these, kind of like an update. All right, guys, it's gonna do it for me. Let me know in the comments what you guys really want to pick up this year. As always, thanks so much for all your support. Stay safe out there. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.